Hi there, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Beneath the Lift Tower. My name's Charles McGillivray, and as always, I'm joined by Simon Stacey and Jess Kebble. We're a fans podcast by fans for fans of Northampton Saints. Please remember to follow us on all our socials, add us on Spotify, follow us on Spotify, Apple Music, all the above, so that you can get your podcast ASAP. How you both doing?
Good, thank you, mate.
Good, thank you.
Good. Right, let's just start off the bat, fresh off the press, hot off the press news. George Furbank is leaving Northampton Saints to join Harlequins. What do we think to this?
It's the worst kept secret, wasn't it? But the longer it lasted, the more chance we had that he might not. But hey ho, he's gone. He's probably the best fullback in England, probably one of the best in Europe, and he will be very sorely missed. But has he been here 10 years playing? Boy, he's watched them win the final, then he's gone on and won the final. So it's sort of like Roy the Rover's story, isn't it? And yeah, I wish him luck, but not when he plays us.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing around the policies. We don't know what's true and what's not true, and whether it's like he couldn't get. They wouldn't give him more than a 1-year contract and all this sort of stuff, which is rumoured and speculation, and we can't really comment on it because we don't know how any of it is true or not. But like after his performance at the weekend, like why are they worried about giving him a 1-year deal or not? Give him a 10-year deal. The man's incredible. He is. We're well used to it now, aren't we? We lose our best player every year. It's happened 3 or 4 years in a row. So. Beginning of the next year, we may as well think who's our best player because they won't be there come the end of the season. That's generally that's generally what happens at Northampton.
Well, with age as well. Don't forget that. To be fair, most of the ones that have left recently have been towards the end of their career.
Yeah, true.
I'm just saying, I'm just thinking, you're wondering. I'm thinking you're advancing a year. And you're probably thinking the way he's going that Mr. Pollock's probably going to be our best player, and we won't want to be losing him at 22. That's all I'm saying.
I wouldn't put it past them. But,
well,
he's going to have some big offers at some point, isn't he?
Yeah, with Eddie Hearn behind him now, you never know. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, talking of. Sorry, Jess. Do you want to talk about Burbs leaving?
I suppose the only thing is I get the impression that this decision was made quite a long time ago. So the club probably didn't have the benefit of the way he's been playing and the comeback from injuries. When all the deals were probably put on the table, it was a player that had been struggling for quite a long period of time with multiple different injuries. Then, like you said, you factor in that the dreaded age part to that, which sounds crazy because he's like my age, but you factor all that in. I can kind of see where the club were coming from, and it just sort of is what it is. But yeah, it wasn't. I suppose the only thing was it wasn't particularly helpful for anyone really that it took so long to announce. But I understand. Well, we all know that Quinn's obviously going through their own difficulties, transitions, changes, etc. So it took a long time. But I feel like anybody that was still holding on to hope was, that was never realistic. I don't think, to be honest. I think it was more just waiting for when Quinn's felt the best chance was to announce it as opposed to a decision being made. But yeah, it's a shame, but we do, I don't think we can deny we've got some really good players coming through, and you're right, it's been the last few years where we've kind of lost our best players, but look where we still are. The club is able to bounce back. We've won the Prem, made a European final, we're now at the top of the Prem, we're back into the European quarters. It's not like it's going badly. So I trust the club will be able to make use of people coming through. Like we've mentioned things like, Hendy, if he can get a good run of games after he comes back from injury next season. We've got Pater, some other people around. We're still able to kind of build and move forward. So I'm sure we'll be. When you consider the business that the club has done across the whole season, I still think we're in the net positive column.
Yeah, it's just tough, isn't it? Because especially when he puts in performances he's just outrageously talented. And so impactful and wins your games, on his own. So, I know the coaches won't agree that wins games. It's a team effort, but no, Magic wins your games sometimes when it's close. And there were some close moments at the weekend, and he was the difference in an awful lot of them. So it's a shame to see him go. But like you said, next cab off the rank really.
He also got try of the weekend, didn't he? So yeah, sort of like Harlequin's gone. Hang on, he's just put that performance in. He's just got best try of the weekend. Let's announce it now, just so it sort of like gives our fans a little bit of a jeer. It's sort of like a double-edged sword as well, though, because we also heard yesterday that the GOAT is signing for sale. So it's sort of like our best ever players coming back to play for a different team, and our current best players going to play for another team.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to bring that one up as well. The greatest of all time was obviously announced that he's returning to England, and not going to be wearing green, black, and gold. It's just going to sting, isn't it? Like, at least with Lewis, we never played Toulon. But next year we'll be playing Quins and we'll be playing Sale, and therefore that extra sting is going to, we didn't, when we lost Cobus, we didn't play Montpellier. It's sort of the sting of watching them tear it up in the Prem every week, which I have no doubt they both will, because they're both superstars. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's going to be even worse, the sting for the players, because they're like, oh my God, he's coming back and he's tackling us this time. That's the thing. He's going to be on the end of a Courtney tackle. No, thank you.
I think it's a good. Like, if it had to be another team, I think like he's probably joining a decent setup that will work quite nicely for him. Like, I know, you look at it with like the rose-tinted glass of like it's Courtney, but realistically, there's no room for him in our setup. It wouldn't make sense. Like,
disagree.
For me, it would be
that, right? By the way, just
for me.
For
me, I think it would be a backward step, and I think it wouldn't be right for the players that are playing in those positions now to feel like they'd have to make way. So it just doesn't. The club don't look back like that. They haven't really for the past sort of few years really. And I mean, he signed a 1-year deal with Sale. Like, obviously, I suppose it depends. He wants to try and get into the World Cup. I suppose it depends what happens after that, but there's every possibility he's only doing potentially 1 season anyway. So if that's true, we'd only have to play him twice, so it's not too bad. But I think the reality is, I think he's released a statement. I just saw it on Facebook, like via the Sale pages, that really he was only ever interested in 2 clubs, which was us and Sale. And so, I don't think we ever really put our hat in the ring. At least I'd be surprised if we did. So Sale was probably and like I said, his family, his wife's family are from there. So, they've got personal links up there as well. So it sounds like a good, they're a younger squad that are struggling a little bit. And so, the opportunity to learn from him will probably be invaluable for them. And so he's probably going to them at a time that really works for them. So, I mean, obviously wish him all the best. Just not against us, like you said. The same with George. Like, wouldn't mind if they just happen to not be able to play those fixtures specifically. But
I would say though that I disagree that he wouldn't work. It's not in keeping with what we would need, and he wouldn't fit in, because fundamentally he's not going to want to play. He's going to want to be well looked after. He's not going to want to play every minute of every game, so that he's coming back to put himself in the best position so that he can compete to go to another World Cup. And I really hope that happens for him. But you would think we've lost Graham, we've lost Angus Scott-Young over the course of a season. We're going to need to sign a back row forward. And why would the best back row forward in the world is potentially like that would be that? Why would that not be the best option? Like, so
because it's not it's not how they work though, is it? They're looking for younger talent that they can, and they've made that very clear themselves. The coaches have made that very clear themselves, that they're sort of looking for younger talent. I mean, I'm sure if there was a way to make it work, but I should also forget that the club are working within a budget, and they've also made it very clear about the difficulties of that. And I've got no doubt that the amount of money that you'd probably need to get him back is probably more than we're able to offer as well at this kind of stage. So it's probably a lot of factors coming in, but like, I'd have been more surprised if he ended up signing to come back here than if he'd signed for another club, to be totally honest. I'm just glad it wasn't Tigers, because I know he did speak to Jeff Parling, but he'd made it clear that wasn't going to work for him, so good.
I was literally about to say that. That is the only blessing he's not signed for them. Because that would kill me. That would absolutely kill me.
Or Sarries. But I can't imagine he'd want to go into either of them. I think money is the only factor. I think if they could have got him in at the price they could afford, they would have snapped his hands off. I think, because when we signed Haskell, for example, we paid him pennies, but he came to us because it was down the road from where he lives, and it was the best opportunity for him to put himself in the window to get in England back in the England squad. It didn't work out for him, obviously, because of his injury, but like that would have been the only option I think we could have offered him financially. Would have come to us for basically nothing, but we'll give you the best opportunity to go to the World Cup. Whereas Sale probably have got a bit more financial clout and can actually pay him his worth, and that's I think probably the sole determining factor. I think they would have snapped their hand off to get Courtney. I know we're a development club and we bring young players through, but we've also brought in older players at times. Anthony Bellew's not a young player. We brought him in to fit the role that we needed. We needed quality in a position that was going to work for us. And you think back row across the season, if we'd had Kemeny and Laws covering 6 for the entire year, I mean that they would have got the best out of both of them. So I think it is pure finances that's the determining factor.
But do you really want to go? I'm not saying I would have loved him back, but does he really want to come back and just if we don't win now? He left by lifting the Premiership trophy. Do you know what I mean? That's like a massive legacy. It's not like he built up to it. He was there. He won it. He left, and he's left a legend. If you always go back over old ground, sometimes you could just go, yeah, it didn't work.
Yeah,
but it would have been good to see him. But
there's the human factor to it as well, isn't there? Like you said, Sale and Saints, because his partner's family are from Cheshire, so it's up there. But all of his family are from around Northampton. He has property in the area, etc., etc. Like, he went away on the best high ever, but he's coming back to the Prem anyway. Like, so if I think if the money, he's got to do what is right for him, and I think if the money was right at Saints, he would have somewhere in my heart thinks he would have come back to Northampton, because he could come back, win it again, and then go away even bigger champion. Drop them, because he could have come in as captain for the year. You never know. Like, there's all sorts of things going on, but it's I just think
I suppose it's a lot of money for someone that probably isn't going to be a regular starter when you consider who you've got in that squad. Like, you're right, like in terms of like Kemeny, but you also think other people that can play at 6 or even 4. Sometimes he covers that position, although that's quite well covered. Like Pearson and Pollock can also play 6 if it's absolutely necessary. So, there's a sort of a lot. He would come back in, and I still think there's other people sort of above him in the pecking order, just based on how they're playing right now for the club. So, it would end up being quite a lot of money, I suppose, for someone that you're maybe not getting as many minutes out of as you would potentially want. But
to be fair, I think if he's there, he plays, doesn't he? If he's fit, he's playing. He's Courtney.
Yeah. But I think that's what the problem is for me. Is that I would rather we went forward with the people that have been proving themselves in the 2 years he's been gone, as opposed to like that. That wouldn't feel right for me. For some of the young players that have put in really good performances, I'd be like, that would be, because those are the people that you want to keep hold of long term, right? Like, because the reality is you might get Courtney for a year, maybe 2, depending on how he's feeling. I mean, he's 37, he's still going strong, so who realistically knows at that point? But do you want to risk losing other younger players that could be here for longer? And that would also have to factor in slightly. But yeah, money wise, I think we were probably always out of the running, certainly from that perspective.
The goal is also to put out the best squad you could possibly get, and any squad with Courtney Laws in is a better squad. And it's not like he's a journeyman who's from all parts of the world who's just coming here for a last buck. He's Courtney Laws. He's a legend of the club. I wouldn't agree to signing a 37-year-old international that wasn't Courtney Laws. I would fully agree with you, but it's Courtney Laws. I think that is a different factor.
I'm aware I'm very much in the minority, that despite it being Courtney Laws, I still personally don't think it works for the current squad. That's just my opinion. I also think a lot of people are blinkered by the fact that it is Courtney Laws, and maybe wouldn't feel the same way if it was someone else. And I do understand that. But I also, like you said, I don't think, realistically, I mean, he had to take a pay cut, didn't he, for the last contract he signed here, and then, I mean, we were never going to compete with the French offer. I think we all knew that, but he's probably worth, like I said, he's worth more, even at 37, than sort of what we can give him now. But I don't personally see it as a bad thing. I think the club will be perfectly fine as we move forward with the other internationals as well that we have in our squad, bearing in mind who is in and around. But yeah, I certainly would say, I would still agree that it kind of stings to know that he's coming back and he is going to play for another side. But yeah, hopefully it's just a 1-year contract and he tries for the World Cup and then maybe he retires and he moves back here and everything's fine.
I think, it's just it's a bitter pill that we have to constantly swallow at Northampton because of the financial burden that the financial restraints that the club has. It's every year we're losing our best talent, our best players, our leaders, because we're operating within a model that is the only model that the club can exist within and be sustainable. And it's not really sustainable as of yet because it's losing money every year. So it's just a bitter spill of reality of life, unfortunately. But sometimes reality of life and sporting, story and sort of love don't overlap very well. The Roy of the Rovers, they didn't have to worry about the financial dealings of the club, did they? So, it's all those sort of things. But yeah. Anyway, let's get back to the rugby and let's talk about the Castres game because that was back and forward and a bit epic, wasn't it?
It was brutal, mate. It was sort of like I'd say it's sort of like either an army mission or a gaming mission for Castres. It was like try and get a win, but side mission, try and wind up and beat the living poop out of Mr. Pollock. My God, they literally targeted some of them. I'm surprised there are any yellers, but it was an insane game. I haven't really followed the French rugby recently. Some of their lads were absolutely massive. They're wingers. My God, are they big and fast? And I was impressed that where they're 8th in their league and they came in and nearly beat us. I was a bit like, whoa, this is gonna be a tough game, and it was. And the lads fronted up and they got the points, and it was yet again another Friday night under the lights. Epic.
Yeah, they definitely came with they definitely targeted Pollock, no doubt about that. But to be fair, they were immensely physical all over the pitch. That game was brutal, like you say. Like I thought our players were phenomenal in the way they fronted up to that pack and that force. And Castres were not the side that we've played in the last few years when we've played them. They moved the ball so well, and some of the athleticism they had in some of those backs was just amazing. Like they were a properly good side that came with an amazing mentality to take it really physical and put it about and be aggressive, but then move the ball and attack space. It was, and I think we sort of countered like for like, and I thought it was a great game of rugby. Like it was like everything you could want. It was there. It was tremendous.
Insane, yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah. It was like from a neutral perspective, you're like definitely a really, really good game. I do agree with Digwall's comments after the game where he said they didn't play that well in a lot of aspects. Like I do agree, but at the end of the day, that also made for a really, really good like competitive game between two sides that I don't think we were expecting. And that's probably our fault really because of the let's be honest, the past few times we played them, we dismantled them to put it kind of bluntly. Like, they lost heavily, and that I think made them a bit more of a threat because you don't want to lose to a team 3 times in a row, obviously, but you also, like I said, they're 8th in the top 14, and that's 20 rounds in, so that's going to be a hard job for them to do what they need to do in that competition. So realistically, this was kind of the thing for them to target, I suppose, and they certainly came with that mentality. But I feel like it's the second game in a row where their targeting of players cost them the game. Like if they hadn't have had 3 yellow cards, that could very well have been a different outcome. And we can't say that for sure because it was so close between the teams, but their like ill discipline cost them in key sort of moments of the game. And like whilst I was kind of impressed with the way that they played in terms of, like you said, the way they fronted up, like I was really unimpressed with some of their sort of on-field antics. Like it's probably the first time I've really felt like that in a long time, of like the one on Pollock, that's just straight up just dirty play, like because you're trying to target someone and you've ran in with a tucked arm towards a player that you have already been having a go at like as the game has started.
But how often do you see those tucked arms and then not picked up? Like it wasn't so blatantly tucked that you could see it was tucked from a mile away. You had to look at it and go, hang on, he hasn't really got that arm engaged. If his arm was slightly engaged, it's just a brilliant clear now.
Yeah.
And like,
no.
so
Mate, no. There was 3 penalties there. he was offside. I think he didn't use an arm, and he went just under the chin. So like that was.
I don't think you
He
can
was
be.
inside. He blatantly came in the side.
I think he came in perfectly through the gate. I think I agree. It was a tucked arm. Like it was a tucked arm. That was the penalty. That was the yellow card. And I think he hit his ribs so hard that it meant that his Pollock's shoulder rammed into his own head. Like so, it was. But you could say, well, the reason he hit so hard was because he tucked his arm, right? So like I have no issue with the outcome of it all, but you also see a million of them in a game of rugby, in cleaning out, ruck's being cleaned out, where their arms aren't open, they're tucked arms, because it's an effective one cleaning that. So it's like and I think if it hadn't have been Pollock, and it hadn't have kicked off afterwards, he might have got away with it.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
No, that'd have been a travesty, mate. It looked worse, like you said, because Pollock's arm went up. It looked like he hit him on the chin, but like you said, it was Pollock's own arm.
His own arm,
but, mate, it was so in the side. I'm just gonna find it and watch it again now.
We can disagree. That's fine. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
But I think if that's in from the side, then let's look at every single rock in the game and call every one of them in from the side, because Pollock was at an angle which didn't help. He was basically going, go and have a go at that rib, and the guy went, yeah, go on, then I'll have a go, and he probably went for it and went beyond and went over the line, and that's what cost him.
I think what also didn't work in their favour is like, it's not like Pollock was preventing the ball from coming out. The ball was at the base, ready for the 9 to pick up, which also didn't help him. It wasn't like you're trying to clean someone out because you think someone's slowing the ball down or they're doing some kind of illegal action. He just did it because he saw it was Henry Pollock and he wanted to go for him. And he'll probably try and deny that, potentially, if you ever put that to him, but it feels like that's what happened, to be honest. Which
is fair game if you do it legally. That's the sport. Yeah. If the arm wasn't tucked and he absolutely belted him, that's sort of fair play almost, that's the game.
Yeah, because he's part of the ruck, right? So it didn't have a problem, like you said, with like targeting him in the first place. But when you do see it on the replay, like that arm is tucked, but a good few seconds before he hits the ruck, right? So his intention is to tuck that and smash into him like from the outset. So definitely, and really realistically, like you said, the angle that Pollock's standing at and it being Pollock's arm, like I think might have been really the only thing that saved him from a red, because if he'd gone in with a tucked arm and smashed his shoulder into his head, he could have been. I'm not saying it definitely would have, but
multiple week ban. If you go tucked arm and you hit someone in the head with your shoulder, that's minimum 3-week ban. And that's if you do tackle school or whatever it is. That is purely starts at 6-7 week ban, cut it down for mitigation. But 100% agree. But he hit him in the ribs.
No, for sure. He got kind of lucky, but I always felt the same with, and I'll qualify this because there were two things on McParland. The second one in the second half, like that was just not very pleasant either. But my main issue with that wasn't even necessarily with the player doing it, because he got the yellow card and he should have, and that was fine. It was just the ref's action. I actually thought the ref was all right as a whole. Like, I think that we're so used to such a bad. I think we're so used. I haven't watched the game back.
I thought he was all right. He just made some.
Yeah, having watched the game back.
I wasn't going to bring him up. I wasn't going to bring him up because I didn't want to bring in negativity. He was one of the worst referees we've ever had at the Gardens. He had no clue what he was doing.
I think the week before what we'd had at Sarries was egregiously worse. Way worse. I actually felt he handled it all right, because I thought in the second half, this is going to kick off if he doesn't get control of it, but he sort of managed to keep it. He was very clear, like, anyone does this again, they're going off, and it kind of calmed it down a bit in the second half in particular. And like, I actually didn't think any, like, for example, the first McParland one, that the ref immediately was like, well, this is a penalty try, I'm on a penalty try decision, and was pretty quick to make that decision. There wasn't anything that really stood out to me, as I think we've had demonstrably worse refs in the Prem over the sort of time. But the main thing I think for that second one on McParland, and George was furious, you could hear it over the ref mic, was him continuing to play with what was an obvious head injury on the ground, with play going on around it. And when the play had stopped eventually, George went up to the ref, and I think the ref said, oh yeah, we're looking to see if it's foul play. And he said, I'm not bothered about if it's foul play, I'm bothered that you kept playing, and my player's down with a head injury, and anything could have happened. And you could tell he was, and I was not very impressed, because usually with a regular injury, like if you can keep going, you can keep going. But with a head injury, and what was very obviously a head injury, you're supposed to stop play, particularly when it's in and around the area that it happened. So I think that's really the only thing to me that stood out as like he kind of got that a bit. Well, he did get that wrong in terms of he should have stopped immediately. But he made, in my eyes, good decisions at all of the key moments. Like those 3 yellow cards were all very obviously yellow cards, pretty run of the mill. Sorry, like I said, the penalty try, like. That tackle was it looked nasty, but it was just a player in the moment who got it wrong, knew that McParland was going to make the line and just reacted, and unfortunately obviously got him very obviously around the neck. But he was very clear that it was a yellow card, it was a penalty try, there was no real discussion. So I think we've had way worse, and like I said, having watched the game back on telly and looking at it again, I honestly thought he was all right, like considering it was a last minute change from what I can understand as well, because it was meant to be Holly, wasn't it?
It was. I thought I heard it was.
Yeah, it was meant to be.
So actually, going to get a decent ref for once. But oh my god, that thing! I can't. I totally disagree with both of you. I thought he was absolutely awful, and the decisions he made. Problem we had with the refereeing, we couldn't hear the TMO. So he was talking to the TMO, but we couldn't hear what the TMO was saying. So we were only hearing what him and the touch judges were saying.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to watch it back. But him, the TMO, and the ARs were in pretty much constant agreement all the way through.
But he had to keep asking him. That's my opinion of a poor referee. You have to keep going to him. Like you said about that one where the guy's clearly on the floor and he played on for like 2 minutes. It's like, no, you shouldn't be doing that. I just watched it back, Charles. He's miles in the side.
No, I really don't think he is. I think Pollock at an angle is making it, but he's come in and he's hit him. He's gone straight through him.
He's gone in that way. He's gone in diagonally.
And it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But the I agree. No, I fully agree. I thought he was all right. I mean, the plane where the player was down with the head, with McCollum was down with head injury, is clearly wrong. But then I also think those 2 decisions, like the desperate tackle chasing a man when he chased McParland and hit him in the head, it's just an act of desperation. Fair enough. It's
100%.
I think the clear out where he hit McParland's head was just bad timing, bad technique. I don't think he's gone in to whack him or anything like that. It's just he's a winger trying to clear out and he's got it completely wrong. So. Yeah, I don't think there was anything too contentious in the game, to be honest, really. So that, I mean, he wasn't the best of ref, but like you said, compared to the last 2 weeks prior, where we had Woodthorpe and Tempest, like he may as well be the best ref in the world compared to those 2.
To be fair,
I think
surely we get Luke Pearce now for a few weeks. Like we can't keep having these refs. Like
when the winger took out Archie, he did put his hand up because he was like, "Yeah, I know, I've just done that."
Oh,
I just watched it back. He like, "Yeah, my bad." He looked straight away. I would say two of our other tries, though, if we hadn't have proper scored from them, there would have been a yellow card and a penalty try because they were literally they're high tackles. I think there was 3 altogether. I just didn't think he was good at all. I just think because they were so aggressive. He's like, I've already given 3 yellow cards. I can't give any more. And he just wasn't assertive, and he wasn't listening to the captains. Like you say, it wasn't as bad as the other 2, but that's not a good level to be comparing to, is it really?
Some refs do have and Luke Pearce is guilty of this, where sometimes he will, and it really stuck out for me, not this week but last week, whichever game it was he was reffing, like he just did not want to listen to what anyone was telling him. Like all of them have that kind of part to them sometimes where they just won't. They just don't want to listen and they'd rather engage with like their assistant refs and things. But I don't think there's anything wrong with him asking the TMO for those particularly the final 2 yellow cards. Like that is something that you probably do need to engage in a discussion with, because there's obviously potential about what colour that card is going to be. So I don't think he was wrong there. And then, like I said, the yellow card penalty try one, he didn't really engage with the TMO at all. He said, unless you've got something else to tell me, he said, I'm on a yellow card penalty try, and that was it. That was probably a really quick decision. But yeah, you're right about the winger. Like he did it, and the second he let go of Archie, he put his hand up, and he was like, just like, and didn't complain at all about. To be fair, I can't see how they would complain about any of the yellow cards that were given them, to be honest. They were all fair cops. Like, they were all pretty obvious decisions to be made. So I don't think any of them can really complain about that. But, yeah.
Do you want to go back to the decision where they knocked on and he said advantage? We coughed it up and they ran half the length of the pitch, scored a try. And he was like, and he gave the try. And I think it was George wherever said, what about the advantage? He went, oh, hang on. And you heard him talk to Marius.
His AR told him,
Yeah, he went, sorry guys, yeah. He shouted it on the ref link, knock on advantage, and he just totally forgot.
Yeah,
And he went,
yeah. I
that's
mean,
my bad. At least he admitted it. He
that
that's
was
what I
admitted
mean.
cool.
it,
There
but
was
still.
also a clear
it's not.
offside for the Archie McParland interception try on our line.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
that was a quite clear and obvious offside because the player took two steps forward, was offside before Archie picked up the ball.
There you go.
Archie then passed the ball directly to him, and that sits on Archie, by the way. He doesn't get away with it because the player was offside. He should pass him the ball.
Times.
Yeah, and we got lucky that there was another one cancelled because of it, because of another issue where he got an interception. That was a clear and obvious offside, and no review, and like they just got that clearly wrong. The AR that was directly in line with me, so I could see it clear as day live.
Yeah,
the AR is closer than me, and he's not seeing it, and I'm thinking,
yeah.
What was going on? How can you not see that offside, or how can they not get to that decision, or at least let's have a look at that because it looked dodgy.
So we are going down the lines of he wasn't very good now because we're finding more and more.
No,
that
I think that the day that you get a refereeing performance where a mistake isn't made, the world has ended. Like, it just isn't realistic. Like, the advantage, he just simply forgot. We're all human. He forgot. I don't know.
Though?
Like,
he was
I don't
really
know.
loud on the ref link. He went,
I don't. He didn't. I don't think he forgot that there was an. He didn't forget there was an advantage. He wasn't 100% sure if he'd said if it was over or not. The question was about whether he'd said advantage over, and he hadn't. Or at least I hadn't heard it, but my ref link was very quiet. Couldn't really make out what they were saying for a lot of it. I think my battery is dying. But I was like, I swear I didn't hear him say it. And then to be fair, he was told, after he gave the try, he was told by the AR immediately, like, you need to check. And he did, and the right decision was made. Like you said, that's what it is about at the end of the day. It's, have you rectified the mistake that was made? And in that situation, he did. You're right about the offside, but like you said, that's sort of all of them together as a team made a mistake as well. Like you said, the AR being in the best place to see it, like, that's on him to tell the ref at that point. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's the decision that, like, but you get that constantly. We've got to a level where we expect errors from humans, which is not a bad place to be. It's just very frustrating, and luckily it didn't decide the fixture. But it is what it is. Now let's talk about the good things. I mean, dare I say, best player on the pitch, one of the best performances I've seen from a player in such a long time. Furbank is just on fire at the moment. Everything he does is pure class. He's just so silky in his running. That try he scored where he just cut the most outrageous line, and then he fired up the jet burners and was away, and no one could touch him. Like, just outrageous.
Yeah. I mean, I think someone else said, was it? He said in the post-match interview, he said Radis is going to be fuming, like, because the defense in some, like, both from them and from us, sometimes was just non-existent. Like, not only does he cut the line, like I said, it's beautiful, but like, he gets 2 or 3 players that get a hand on him, and they just, he's going at such speed, isn't he? At that point, like, they just can't get him down. Like, it was an insane try.
It was Kemmeny's as well. He set up, didn't he?
He just is so aggressive in his carrying. He just no self-preservation, just hits lines and hits gaps with full commitment, and and he's big enough to burst through. But yeah,
it makes me wince. It makes me wince sometimes how he'll just go, screw it, I'm going to take the straight line, and just will run into people. I'm like, please be careful. Like,
he literally was the assist or the pre-assist, weren't he, for nearly all the tries?
Yeah,
like, Kemmeny's one especially, because he did like a little goose step, and then he sort of popped it. I think it was to Archie, and then Archie back to Kemmeny. Yeah, he was inside, just on fire. It's just sad that he's going. What a time to announce it, just as he's getting into like the best form he's had forever, and he's like, oh yeah, he's leaving now.
But he's so good that I think if we've got him in our side, we can beat anyone. We generally can beat anyone if we've got him inside. Like that, you said that, like, you goose step, you called it. I mean, it's nigh on teleportation. He goes from being in one piece of time and space to another in the blink of an eye, and defenders he's just around the defender before they know it's happened. Like, they think they're in a good place to defend, and he's 3 foot past them. Like, he that sort of step he's got on the angle with pace behind it. it's just such a weapon. I
Yeah.
think the other player that I thought hit lines and hit like gaps with unreal aggression and commitment to those lines was Tom Litchfield. The boy is on the form of his life.
I was
Like,
just about to say exactly the same, and he rightfully kept and earned his place, and he was amazing.
yeah, I think I got the out of all three of us had different centre combos. I think I had the right combo out of the three of them.
I wasn't saying I thought it would have been unfair if they dropped him, but I just thought because of what the game was, I just thought you'd go with those two because of the age and the experience. But like you said,
I mean, I think I'd said on there last week. I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if Hutch is benched just purely of his coverability, if that's even a word, of like the back, all of the backs essentially. Like, and it turned out obviously to be needed. So it was the right call to have him on there as the 23. And like you said, he's just been made Saints Player of the Month as well, Litchfield. Like, he's just, like you said, he's just getting better and better. And in fact, I felt, because he got pushed out to the wing, didn't he? I also thought that Fremo, I feel like people weren't mentioning him enough. Like, that guy was smashing every single person that caught a ball. Like, his like man marking ability and ability to get there and just smash them the second they come to floor, like, was really good. And he's such a threat, like, at the kickoff, like when we're kicking off, like towards Castres, like he puts himself in the mix, he tries to jump, slap the ball, just disrupt, and it works really, really well. And I thought, alongside obviously the try, I actually thought he had a really strong game with ball in hand.
He was a proper 7 out of 10, wasn't he? Like, he just did everything right, but he probably didn't get to the levels that he's, the star quality or the X factor that we've seen at times this year or through his career even. But everything he did was bang on, like no errors, solid and everything. With Mitchell, just to cover off, I think it's that one skill piece where he still needs to just get better. He's kept taking the ball tight to those lines. The knock on where I think Pollock passes the ball and Litchfield knocks it on.
Yes.
And then it ends up with a bit of a scuffle, whatever. But that moment where he's got the perfect angle, he's got the pace, he's got the explosion to go away, he just forgets the ball, happens a few too often, too many times too often with him. But if he gets that skill piece, like, just remember the ball, mate. Like, if he gets that bit right, he will take off. He'll be an England player, and no doubt, because he's got everything to go for him.
But you mentioned Pollock. That guy had an insane game from start to finish. Like, it's really funny because the comments online, like, oh my god, he's such a liability. I say he got a yellow card by just existing, like by just being a person. Like, because like I said, I'm so surprised they target him. So not just with the yellow card, but just everything outside of it. Because if there's one thing I've learned about Pollock, that like, if someone's trying to fight him, he's very hands-off. He just walks away. If someone tries to go after another one of his teammates is when he really throws himself in. But a lot of the time, he'll sort of invite someone to have a go at him and then he'll just walk away. And it's just like the perfect thing because it keeps that opposition kind of like angry because they're not getting the reaction that they wanted. But also just that guy's work at because I thought like breakdown-wise was still not very strong. But, I mean, he made so many turnovers and was just throwing himself in and is really strong still with ball in hand. Like, again, the same as like with Sarries, I think he just put his head down, got stuck in, and got himself at the top of some of the stats list again, like for the second week in a row by just doing his job. And yet everyone's, the comments are still like, oh, I wish he'd focus on his rugby. I said, well, when hasn't he? Because like he's been a machine, I think, over the past 2 weeks. Like, he's gone from, we had all this discussion, didn't they? And I saw someone put about this online as well, of like, everyone talks about him as being like a really good impact sub, but actually what you get for those 20 or 30 minutes that he would be a sub, you actually get for the full 80, because that guy never stops. The energy level never dips. Like, he will be on it from minute 1 to the 80th minute if you have him on for that long. I actually think he's starting to get to that point where he's like undroppable as a starter, let alone the decision. Obviously, eventually there will be, because you have the natural rotation and the people that come in, but the shifts he's put in for the past 2 weeks, I mean, some of the balls that he's been winning, like, they're just like textbook turnovers.
Yeah, he's the only player we've got in that really in the squad that gets those consistent turnovers. And I think defensively at breakdown, we with him in the side, we are actually strong. We get enough turnovers in defence, but I think it's that Achilles heel of that attacking rucks is where we struggled a bit, and that's like there's a fundament. It's not just one thing there. it's moving the ball to edges, so you're winning gain line, or winning collision, so you're winning gain line, so therefore clearing out is easier. Or it's just, players working their socks off so that they're there with their supporting lines. It's lots of factors, but that is still that Achilles heel that seems to have reoccurred a bit this year of our attacking pieces. I mean, Pollock's just, he's immense.
It's just he doesn't get wound up easy either, does he? He just thrives on it. Do you remember? I think it was their 10. Where did he knock on or something, and then the 10 pushed him on the chest. Pollock went to front up and went, "No, I'm not going to bother."
It was that Litchfield moment. It was that
Litchfield one, yeah. He sort of like went to wind him up, and he went to go for it. It was like, "Nah, there's no point. There's no point. I've already been warned."
That one moment, like, there's like articles written about that one moment.
It's madness,
it's just it's crazy the attention he gets, but he's a superstar, and that's amazing. We need to keep promoting him and because I think he's got his head screwed on, and it won't affect him at all. He'll be great for Saints. He'll be great for the game, and he's a top player as well. So it's all good.
I was going to say just one negative, Rambo.
Yeah.
That was it. I'm not going to elaborate on it. It looked like a knee, didn't it? Was it knee?
They said hamstring.
He was limping off, wasn't he?
They said, I think they said hamstring injury. Like the commentators said that it was a hamstring injury. I suppose the positive is he walked off unaided, but I don't know if it's a bit similar to Mitch's where that was the same thing. But he's obviously off for about a month or so, so it's very much a fingers crossed, very much a fingers crossed situation. But I suppose we'll find out more. Certainly, he's probably not going to be appearing this week anyway, so that'll be, I mean. I suppose whilst we're on the negatives, we might as well cover them off. Like, I suppose the two other areas we really need to work on, like the line out just wasn't good. It just, I don't know what the reason for that is, because, we had Wright and then we had Langdon and they're both very strong. So I don't know if it was just an off day for the line out. And obviously I think we really do miss Coles's calling ability there, and whether we need to really focus on maybe blooding someone in as like a bona fide replacement to be that caller. I don't know. I don't have the answer. But it just, for whatever reason, it wasn't working.
To it than I think the calling was one.
100%, yeah.
But I think that you've got to give credit sometimes to the opposition and saying that they prevented us having that easy out with Kemeny at the front.
Mm-hmm.
They really challenged Kemeny, because if you've got Kemeny at the front, it's like, half the time you just give it to him because it's clean ball. It's easy, guaranteed winning ball. Kemeny at the front, because he gets up. He's so athletic. He gets up so quickly. It's really good.
Yeah.
But in that game, and also in the same with Saracens the week before, we weren't being given that easy front ball.
Yeah.
So we quite often take the ball at the front because our nines delivery is so good that we can still get the ball to the midfield from the front of from the line out. Traditionally, you'd always have to go back or middle, not that they operate that, but towards the back or towards the middle of the line out with your jumping pod, so that your 9 is a bit further infield so that they can meet the midfield with their first ball. But because McParland and Mitchell's delivery is so good, they can still hit that midfield from there.
Yeah.
But we've been it's probably analysis against us. We've been challenged there quite well recently, and so therefore they've got to learn to sort of adapt and say, well, maybe the option's the tail, or maybe the option's a bit further deeper in the line out because they're covering us off at the front. It wasn't as good as your point as it has been, and it's I'm sure James Craig will be all over that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and then there's the second one for me was that our sort of retention of ball at kickoffs is bad. It's gonna there's at least one that we just completely missed. It went straight into one of the Castres hands. Like I don't know. Again, it's way more technical probably than my ability to realistically understand it, but that's been a constant throughout the season, like just missing it. And sometimes it goes, you lift someone and the intent is for it to drop to the person behind, right? Because that acts as like a form of defense. But either we're calling that and someone behind isn't getting the memo, or the jumper is just missing it. I simply don't know. But it has been, for some reason, out of absolutely nowhere, over this season has become an issue. And it's such a fundamental aspect, isn't it? Because if you miss the ball and your opponents get it, well, they've got the ball in your 22, and that's obviously not at all what you want, right? It's free ball for them in an area you absolutely don't want them to have it. So, like I said, even and the same with the lineup, even if it's just like I said, going back to basics and just thinking about the different options and trying to figure it out. They said, I unfortunately, there's a reason I don't coach because I don't understand the ins and outs of the game. But even from the layman's perspective, something isn't working for whatever the reason is.
The restart's such a fundamental part of the game that we have, like you said, been poor at for a long time and made quite a lot of errors, and they are fundamental errors because it's easy territory, isn't it? Like the first kickoff, I think, of the game, we took the ball, but then we tried to play out with it, knocked it on, and suddenly you go from what should be us getting the ball and kicking back down to their end, giving them the challenge of running from their half to attacking us from their half. You're actually giving them really good attacking scrum in R22, and that was the start of the game. And then throughout the game, we would score a point, we'd score points, whether it be from a try, etc. And then they get the restart, but then they win the restart, and suddenly it's momentum's massively back in their favour, you've just scored, but you're giving them a chance to come straight back at you. And I know we want to play and we want to move the ball, but sometimes the decision is to play territory first, get clean ball and just whack it down there. We've scored a try against you. Now try and score from your own 22. Like that, really put it on them. But I think maybe they're a bit lost from mentality of what they're trying to achieve. Because we don't. I think Finn would have just gone, right, go on, you have the ball down there, and we'll front up defensively and we'll put pressure on you, and you'll make a mistake because you're trying to overplay, and then we'll get the ball back, and then we'll score again, and we'll do it again. I think Finn's management is so good that I think that's where it probably would have ended up, and it's just decision making.
I also think what doesn't help is we were very messy with ball in hand again. A lot of drop balls, mistakes. So, like you said, sometimes I'm not saying you don't want to get the ball from a kickoff and try and play it out of your own half. That's fine when everything is tight and clean and working how it's meant to be. And for the past few weeks, we've been a little bit off in that area. Whereas it seems to be function a lot better, like you mentioned, like when Smith is playing, like it worked really well with Sarries, and then he sort of went off, and it kind of went against the momentum a little bit. But because that area is a little bit not quite as clean as it normally, and that's not to say there weren't some, for our tries when it came together, the offloading game is magic. But when it doesn't work very well and you're trying to play out, like you said, you're trying to play out of your own sort of 22, and you make that mistake, like I said, it just invites like so much unnecessary like pressure onto you. So, and as definitely against a team that is pushing probably harder than they have against you, because this is the third game in a row and they don't want to lose. You add all of that sort of in, and it was a bit messy. But like I said, we've been top of the Prem for a while now, and yet that has been a consistent issue. So it's definitely something that we need to fix as we keep going through, if we want to hold on to that place, because it's like a 1 point gap at the moment. It's pretty tenuous. So there are definitely some key aspects of the game that we've got to tidy up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're going back to the restarts, is like the problem is when you commit, is it 3 players to lift like a Lockett or whatever, and then you miss it, it just takes out defence as well, because it's challenging. And it's also, why are we doing these slapbacks so much now? Like, it's always kick it forward and let Tommy slap it back, and it's just not working, is it? There's got to be a fundamental change there, because, like Charles said, the restart is so important. And probably, I'm not saying that Tony Bellew's not a good player, but it's totally different when Finn's playing. The man management, the player management, like he just said, just hoof it down, get it clear, play territory, but we won, so hey ho, we won.
At the moment, I feel like Smith and Bella are a really good package if you put them like into one person, because Finn's like, I think Finn will even admit like his sort of kick for goals has sort of dropped off a cliff since he's come back from the Lions, whereas Bellew made 6 out of 6.
It's insane,
and they weren't easy. Like his kicking was on point. Like I said, if you put them together, you've got like probably the perfect player right now. But I do agree. I think Finn is and it's nothing against Bellew, because he's come in and he's done such a good job for us, and we'll always remember like the Tigers game and the tries he scored. And he's such a great option to have on the bench when you don't have Finn, which is obviously during the England times it's a decent chunk of time. But we are I do feel like we're a level above when Smith is on the pitch and he's working in amongst that line.
Yeah, I think if you were to combine those two players, I think you're taking a lot more of Finn than you are Tony,
Hmm.
if I'm being
Hmm.
brutally honest. I mean, yeah, his goal kicking
100%.
is sensational, right?
Yeah,
But
that was
and
crazy.
it's really like good for a player to have a moment of magic early in your career at a club. We will always remember that moment against Tigers, and
Yep.
his reputation is built on the back of that. But I think for a number of weeks now, his standards haven't been to that level. I mean, defensively, between him and Finn, they're chalk and cheese. Finn is a brilliant defender, and like the ability to shut down the option to just take the easy meters by attacking a 10 off of a set play. By having Finn there, that's not an option, right? You don't run at him expecting easy meters because he'll actually bang you and push you back. He's brutally good defensively, whereas Bellew, unfortunately, against Castres was a bit of an open door on a number of occasions, and a number of their tries were down to unfortunate individual errors from a defensive point of view from
Yep.
Tony. And like, so it's not, you don't pick your 10 always because of their defense's capabilities, and there's plenty of 10s that have gone on to amazing careers, and they've actually, you try to hide them on the pitch because you don't want them to tackle it, right? That's quite normal, right? But when you got Finn, it's just like having another big centre almost because he's so strong defensively that everyone
Yep.
goes. Most attacking plays are built off of hit the 10 channel first, get easy go forward ball, and then build off of that. You don't get that with Finn, so therefore our whole defence is stronger because you're not giving them that first instance because he's good. Whereas, yeah, there were barely missed a number of tackles and
Yeah.
and also his hands are just not as sharp as Finn's. And I'm not trying to jump on him. Like I say, goal kicking, unreal. But Finn for me it's fundamental Finn. Like we are going to be our best we've ever been with Finn and at 10, and you take him out, and when we're a long way short of our best, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always going back to his
Just
tackling,
like,
I always remember the Reed tackle against Bath. Do you remember? They were like, "Oh, is that a back rower?" No, it's Finn Smith, absolutely poleaxing a huge flanker
yeah,
and putting him on his ass or bottom. Sorry, I shouldn't say ass. It was just
yeah,
yeah. But the problem is, do we really want our 10 doing that? Like constantly, he's going to be like a Johnny Wilkinson that he's just going to end up getting in because he's not designed to be tackling these big lads because he's only young. We want him to, but longevity in this game, he's just going to hammer himself because
he
he
may
should
he
be
may not be
defending.
perhaps he may not perhaps be designed that way physically, but mentally that is what the guy wants to do and it's what the guy is
Yeah.
gonna do. Like he throws himself in and like don't get me wrong, like you watch it and you're like wincing continuously. But he said he makes such a big impact like in pretty much everything that he does that I still don't think I'd change it, despite the fact that yes, he may put himself at risk of perhaps hurting himself.
we're saying this, and I'm touching every bit of wood
Yeah.
here, but like you say, oh, he's not actually that small. I
Nah.
think we, I
Oh
think
no, no.
we get like the idea. It's the same with Pollock. We think he's small, but he's massive, right? Because they come through
Yeah.
as young lads, and we think of them from the moment we see them. But he's physically developed a lot, and the difference between him and say Dingwall probably isn't that much physical stance and nature,
Mhm.
and we don't think about we don't worry about Dingers putting in big hits, do we?
That's his job.
Yeah, well, Finn's a rugby player, and like it's his job to tackle as well, right? So I
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's one of his strengths. Like
And
Oh,
let's be honest,
don't get me
if
wrong. I'm not saying it's not his strength. He's a bloody amazing tackler. What I mean is, I don't want my magician playmaker hitting these massive flankers because he might hit the wrong way and then he's out for a few weeks. That's all I meant. He should be like second or third choice tackler, not
I
yeah,
suppose
on
but
the
the,
line.
the
Bang.
the
I
thing
suppose the
is
issue
though,
is though is he can make like two tackles in a game instead of the amount he does, and you can still get hurt. Like it
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't
just
know.
it's one of those things that isn't going to factor in. At the end of the day, if he's going to model himself off of Johnny Wilkinson, then he ain't going to do half bad, is he? Come on, like
Yeah, that's a
but
high
the
level there.
the thing is though, tens make lots of tackles in games, like
Oh yeah,
because they're targeted. Like George Ford will make or attempt to make a lot of tackles in a game because he is almost every single first phase a team are going to do against Sale is going to be run down forward channel. So he gets put under a lot of tackles. You just don't notice them because they're passive or they're two men in the tackle, etc. You notice Finn making the tackles because it very often ends with the opposition player going backwards. right? So that's the reason. I don't think he makes more tackles than any other 10. I just think he makes them 10 times better than most 10s.
Better, yeah.
I'd just rather protect him a little bit, that's all, because he's very important. That's all I mean.
He is definitely very important. He's Fundamental Finn. That's his name now.
Yeah, I was also going to say as well that like the positive is that at least we didn't get absolutely hammered like Leicester did. But then I realised that if we do get through the next round, that might be who we have to play.
Yeah, well, we need to beat Bath, and then we need to lose to beat Bordeaux, and then it's all systems go to Milton Keynes, isn't it?
I mean, to lose absolutely dismantled Bristol. I mean, I'll be honest, we've said this about Bristol before. Like, they fully go in on the premise of if we score more tries than you, it's a positive, and they can't defend to save their lives. And when you come up against a team like Toulouse, good luck. So you know, them and Leicester. I'll be honest, I wasn't at all surprised by what the outcomes of both of those were and the big score lines. But gosh, the idea of having to face one of the two of them if we make it through Bath is terrifying. But like you said, it's Bath first, and that's its own thing, right? Like, we've gone and we've done it at Bath. It's absolutely possible to do it. It's just obviously like a much different, literally a much different kind of situation, you know, coming out of knockout rugby. And I mean, Bath were not that strong for a really large portion of the game against Saracens, actually. Like, once they turned it on, they were, and they were certainly much better than Sarries, but they started very slow. They didn't start very strong. You know, if you get that Bath on Friday, like, there's a chance to take it and run. But the only thing I suppose is they will turn it on at one point and they bring that bench on and you're like, okay, wonderful, here we go. You know, this is where it starts to go wrong. So, you know, I don't know how to feel about it, and not just in terms of the result, but I don't know how to feel about it in terms of, and this is controversial, but I wonder if it benefits us in the Prem if like we don't move forward. Like, I still want to, don't get me wrong. I'd absolutely love to beat Bath, and, you know, to say you get to the semi-finals, even if it does probably mean Bordeaux in Bordeaux, like, you know, to still get to the Final Four is amazing. But I also kind of sort of worry about our performances a little bit, and would we benefit from a couple of weeks off here and there to really go at it in the Prem? So yeah, I really don't know how to feel about it. Like, I sort of think of it of like, I'll be so happy if we get through, but would I be massively disappointed if we didn't? I don't know. Like, it's a weird fixture at a weird time, I feel.
I think it's just a case of it'll be whatever it'll be. Like, it's going to be a real 100%. Tough game. There's no reason we can't win. I think personally, I think we can only win if Finn plays. I think that he is such a big difference in making us the best that we can be. But Bath could still beat us because they're a sensational side with full of talent, and they're at the Rec, and they won't take us lightly because the second string went down there and turned them over. So it's going to be a real tough game, and like you say, scrum time might end up being fundamentally part of it. With, you know, they bring in the big boy, what's his name, off the bench, the big tight head. I can't think of his name, but you know, Detoy, yeah, Thomas Detoy.
Yeah.
It's
best scrummager in the world.
Yeah, like they bring him on in the second half, and you know, us losing Big Trev, I think, is going to be a real factor in the season as a whole. And I think, you know, this game is a good example of that, because we might get in a position when we just don't have an answer for their scrum, and then it all depends on how the game goes, whether the referee blows up his whistle or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I certainly feel like we're going to need like Fischetti, I think, to be operating on the sort of levels he was for Italy, and I also think we probably need Manny back. I know it was a back spasm, right, and he was trying to get back for that game, and he obviously just couldn't quite. So I'm hoping he's available Friday, because, you know, those are the best, and that's nothing against, you know, Green and West, etc., the others that have come in and like done really good jobs, because they definitely have. But yeah, there are definitely some people that I feel like we desperately, considering who we're still not going to have, right? You know, Coles, I think, is still out. Mitch, I'm sure they said wasn't going to be back for these. Like, you know, there are some real key people that we're still going to be missing. But hopefully, on the flip side, you know, I know that Finn, it was the concussion protocol. And I know there's that 7-day stand down period, so I'm hoping that he's passed since then and he's kind of ready to go. And yeah, losing Rambo is tough, but then I suppose you then can make way for your sort of Dingers, Hutch, and Litchfield to be on the pitch all at one time. I'm not saying they will do that. Like, you still have
Slights
like
will come in.
Slights, for example, is an option. I mean, I know I don't know if he wasn't picked because he got married over the weekend, but he did get married over the weekend. I should imagine his now wife is probably like, I really don't want a black eye in my wedding photos. So, that probably worked out great for him. But yeah, perhaps Slights comes in. But then again, you need to pick on form and who has the form. So, there's again option. At least we've got options, I suppose. With Ram out, it's good to still have a couple of people that you can have in that kind of discussion. But
my fear would be that
I think with big. So I was going to say, I think with going back to the forwards, I think without Big Trev, I think we need Miller Mills back really, because we struggled in the scrum of it and tight head a little bit. Not with the. I always forget his name. The what's his name? The one that comes on. Yeah. I always forget his name. Yeah, he's an absolute unit, but he didn't. He was
really good.
So
I wonder if it's his opportunity to do so on Friday. To be honest, he's a monster.
Yeah, I think it's almost we need to promote him up the pecking order because of what he brings. Like losing Big Trev is losing that foundation of scrum time, and I think Clearpus brings that.
Mm-hmm.
So whilst Elliot Miller Mills is an international, but scrummaging isn't necessarily his strength. He's a strong scrummager, don't get me wrong, but he's not a standout top draw scrummaging tight head like Thomas Dutoy, etc. But I think Clearpus might be that, get him up the chain a bit more, give him up the pecking order a bit more, get him more game time, because he might be what we really need and miss. But then if they're going to have Dutoy on the bench, maybe Clearpus on the bench is the option as well. My worry about Litchfield bringing on the wing, Litchfield as a rule doesn't finish in the position that he starts. So if he starts on the wing, I wouldn't want to be Hutchinson or Dingwall, because one of them's going to go down for Litchfield to move position. So I think we need to start him, and then he'll end up on the wing undoubtedly. But I would bring Ollie in because Ollie's got the X factor and he could be a game changer. And before he didn't, he got dropped the games before then. He was starting to look sharp again. And he brings that bit of dog of war into the team. Those stuff.
You'd maybe have to do with Hutch potentially what we just did, which is have him as a cover, because like you said, at this point it seems to be that we lose one person in the back line per game. So perhaps Hutch just has to fill that role again, because it also depends what they want to do, like I said, in terms of 10, right? Like if it is Finn, I suppose then the natural backup, I guess, is probably to have Hutch on the bench, and then you have Ferb step into that role if necessary. So Hutch then becomes also really important from that perspective as well. Like if something, obviously touch wood, we don't want it to happen as it did in the Sarries game, but if something does happen to Finn, then you really do need to move Ferbs there, and so Hutch becomes important, that he will slot in somewhere in that line. So I wonder if actually Dingers and Litchfield might be the combo again, just simply because, like I said, Hutch is really good at that coverability. It's one of those, it's unfortunate for him from a starting point of view, but at the same time, it's a really good positive that he has that ability to come in and cover those different positions. Like that is a positive, like to have someone like Hutch definitely in those situations. So I wonder if, outside of obviously Finn and Ram, Tony and Ram, obviously Ram not able to play and Tony probably being replaced by Finn if he comes back. He'd probably stick with the centre partnership, or at least I would.
Yeah, I think the side won't change much really. I think that's it. It picks itself.
I think it will change where it has to, won't it? I think that it's as simple as that really.
I think if Finn's fit he plays, but otherwise it's the same.
Yeah, I think even like you said, Kemeny and Pollock have essentially become undroppable. At the moment, like even I know Kemeny had come back from an injury and then he had a head issue, didn't he? But like his performance at the weekend was crazy. So like him and Pollock certainly. And then I suppose you have the question mark of Chick and Pearson and what happens there.
For me, it's no brainer. Pearson starts. I think the Kemeny, Pollock, Pearson back row is outrageously good.
Yeah.
It's unlucky that Chick brings what he brings, but Pearson brings everything else as well.
That might be the only change I might make, is that you move Pollock, I guess, to 8, and then you get Pearson in there instead. Just because, like you said, this is not to say that Chick isn't physical, but Tom Pearson's physicality is a bit of a level above, and against Bath, you are going to need a sort of physical and like someone who can bash, to put it in like.
I think he just brings a bit more dynamism. I think Chick is incredibly robust, incredibly physical and hardworking, gets through an awful lot of work, an awful lot of tough carries, in the tight and etc. Whereas Pearson's got that a bit more explosion, a bit more. He's going to break you the line a bit more, etc. His support plays brilliant. I also think that his work around attacking rucks is what we're going to need as well. So getting that clean ball. But anyway, okay, let's get on to some predictions so we can wrap it up. Si, last week, just you two both basically dead heat because none of us got the margin, and both you got try scorers, so dead heat.
I know I picked Archie, and when the penalty try happened, I was like, if that was my opportunity to have him at Parland try, I'm going to be devastated. But then, understandably, he managed to get in because he can't help himself, so it worked out perfectly for me. But I thought that winger was ruined.
I was just going to say, just go back to the back row. I think you need to play Pearson because their back row is insane. They've got 2 back rows. So I think you need to play Pearson. But
they're so strong there. Yeah, so strong.
You've put me on the spot there because I didn't know I was first. I've got back the boys. I'll go 26-28. And I'll go. As he keeps scoring, I'll go Archie. I'll nick Jess's one.
Yeah, that sounds good. Go on, Jess.
I also think it's going to be close, but I need to do a slightly different margin. So I'm going to go 32-35. Try scorer. I don't know. I always try to pick someone different, but I don't know. Let's go for Pearson. Pick a forward.
We know Charles is going to pick then, if you didn't pick him, I think.
Going Tommy. 21-25. So Si's got a margin of -2. Jess got -3, and I've got -4.
-4.
Right, so we'll probably be another dead heat. But anyway, if we win, of course, which I'm hoping we will. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it was good. It was good. There was so much to talk about there with the transfers and that incredible game against Castres, which was that'll go down as one of the best games I think for us this year. So good. Really, and then what an exciting Friday night again we've got against, sort of almost becoming our big rivals in this era, against Bath, because we seem to be the 2 top teams at the moment. And to meet in Europe as well I'm sure we'll add some spice to the end of the season whenever we get there as well. So
it's also weird how we both are though, because ours is done through academy, theirs is done through the money. That's not that if you've got it, spend it, but there's difference. It's not like we're level. Ours is all through our own doing, whereas they just buy everybody else's talent.
I mean, I would say there's quite a lot of antithesis between Northampton and Bath in many aspects. Yes, in terms of the way we produced rugby teams, but I would say the 2 towns are slightly different as well. I think it is an amazing.
The owner situation. We don't have Mr. Hoover to.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's it's the spice of life, isn't it? Variation. There's nothing wrong with the way they do things. They're a great rugby club. We do things very differently, and I think we all, we're happy with that as well.
You missed a joke there, Jess. You could have said it sucks.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, from my experiences with his vacuums, they are very terrible at that particular function. So all in all.
Yeah, I think mine's currently had to use a bit of super glue to fix it because either that or a new part. Anyway, moving on. It should be great, and I think there should be a good crowd down there. I'm not going, but it should be a good. It should be a great fixture, and the weather seems to be going in our favour, so that's good as well. But anyway, thanks very much for listening, everyone. Please remember to like us on social media, follow it, and follow us on the platform so you can get your podcast ASAP. I've been Charles, Jess, yes, Simon's been Simon. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Cool.